we should take this threat seriously. And a lot of economists have said, no, they can't do it. It won't work. They can't cooperate. Who's going to trust them? And those are all valid points. But I want to emphasize, Rob, that the reason the idea is gaining traction, we don't want to use the dollar because we're worried that if we do something that Washington, D.C. doesn't like, you'll cut off our access to the SWIFT.
Gary, thing number 3, potential BRICS competitor to the dollar.
All right. So, Rob, again, the BRICS nations are Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. But that coalition has now grown to roughly 24 countries all over the world that make up more than half of the world's population and almost half of the world's GDP. These countries, for the last couple of years, have been talking about creating a new currency to compete with the US dollar and are saying we want to either get off the dollar standard or actually replace the dollar as the world's reserve currency. Now, I've been saying for the last couple of years, we should take this threat seriously. And a lot of economists have said, no, they can't do it. It won't work. They can't cooperate. Who's going to trust them? And those are all valid points. But I want to emphasize, Rob, that the reason the idea is gaining traction is because the US dollar is increasingly being used as a political and international relations weapon. The US has utilized dollar-related sanctions to compel compliance and punish economies abroad. We've written and spoken about this for years. We've talked before about how the anti-Russian sanctions were ineffective in removing Russia from Ukraine, but what they did do was make the dollar in the United States look like an unreliable partner and an unreliable currency to much of the globe. As a result, the BRICS countries are saying, you know what, we don't want to use the dollar because we're worried that if we do something that Washington, D.C. doesn't like, you'll cut off our access to the SWIFT system. That's the system we use to process payments. You'll not allow us access to our dollar reserves. You'll deny us access to our own assets. And so that's why they're trying to reduce exposure. And President Trump has responded by saying, if you do that, if you go off the dollar system, we are going to impose 100% tariffs.
Is that because, and I'm assuming yes, Gary, Trump sees the exiting of the dollar system as a problem for the U.S.?
It's a huge threat to the U.S., Rob. So one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is the primary export of the United States right now is dollars. And one of the reasons why the deep knowledge investing portfolio and my personal investments are so weighted toward assets that will benefit from inflation is because Washington, D.C. is printing huge amounts of dollars and we ship those overseas. And the reason it's worked and our economy hasn't collapsed is because there's still demand for the dollar overseas. Now, one of the things we pointed out in a recent version of the 5 things is that over the last decade, the dollar has lost roughly 9% share, which is a huge number, as the world's reserve currency. So other countries are reducing their exposure to the dollar because we're printing like crazy, we're exporting like crazy. And President Trump is right. We need that because at the moment that it's our primary export is not goods, it's dollars. And the thing that I would point out here is I've been having polite discussions and debates with economists and market strategists for the last 2 years. And I've been saying, hey, this is something we need to take seriously. More than half the globe is saying we want to get off the dollar standard. And these economists have said, look, BRICS, they don't have a path to creating a reserve currency that could succeed. They can't challenge the dollar. The dollar is still the best currency in the world. Okay, fine. But I'm just going to point out that if President Trump is talking openly about 100% tariffs, he agrees with us that this is a potential threat to the country. He's trying to head it off. And the other side of it is the more the U.S. treats the dollar as a weapon to compel compliance, the greater the incentive is for other countries to reduce their reliance on it. It is a complicated topic, but one that I've taken seriously for the last 2 years, and the current administration, the current White House, is clearly taking it seriously as well.